Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, indivisible. Let's pray. We pray that you would open our eyes to see your hand at work in every aspect of this meeting. May your Spirit guide us in making wise decisions and lead us towards the best outcomes. Brief moment for your own attention. Motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Right now we have a recognition we'd like to give. Sheriff Pat West would like to come forward. This.
Thank you. You guys can stand right here. Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Sheriff Pat West. Exciting morning, exciting day for us here at the Meade County Sheriff's Office. We get to celebrate a life and also those that saved a life today. So I want to introduce, to my left here is Deputy Trevor Hansen, Deputy Travis Jimenez, Dispatcher Jordan Rogers, and Joyce and Ron Freed. We're glad you guys are here. So this is why we're here. On the afternoon of March 20th, 2025, the Meade County Dispatch received a 911 call reporting an unresponsive female, Joyce Freed, at her residence in Black Hawk, South Dakota. Dispatcher Jordan Rogers immediately answered the call and began delivering life-saving CPR instructions to the caller. For 9 critical minutes, Dispatcher Rogers calmly and professionally guided the caller through CPR, buying time until help arrived. And I would add, Deputy Mike Scott is not here. He wishes he was here, but he's out of state. So, Deputy Scott was the first to respond on scene quickly and took over CPR, applying the AED and delivering the first shock. Soon after, Deputy Jimenez and Deputy Hansen arrived. Deputy Jimenez assisted with CPR while Deputy Hansen ensured the scene was secure and prepared access for incoming EMS units. In total, 4 AED shocks were administered by deputies before paramedics arrived. Black Hawk Fire Department, Rapid City Ambulance, and Piedmont Ambulance worked together on scene to stabilize and transport Joyce to the Rapid City Regional Hospital. Deputy Jimenez transported Joyce's husband, Ron, to the hospital in his patrol vehicle, providing care and support during this traumatic event. Because of the swift actions, teamwork, and professionalism of all those involved, Joyce was revived and is alive and well today. This award is presented in recognition of the outstanding and coordinated efforts by Dispatcher Rogers, Deputy Scott, Deputy Jimenez, and Hansen, and the responding fire and EMS personnel. Their dedication, quick thinking, and commitment to the duty directly contributed to saving a life and reuniting a family. Your actions exemplify the highest standards of public service. Thank you for your heroic efforts. So part of that, go ahead, yes, let's give it. So part of that, I'm going to issue these badges to each one of you. Good job, nice work. Travis, nice work. Jordan, good work, yes. And also on behalf of the Meade County Sheriff's Office, here's little roses for you. All right, so thanks again for what you guys do, and thank you for being here. Yes, absolutely.
gotta get
You're
on.
bombing it now.
I thought all the pictures were taken.
Well, then I want to thank you all for being here for that and the hard work of our dispatch and deputy team. Appreciate that. Let's move on to routine business. Opportunity for public comment. Does anyone from the public wish to speak before the commission today?
Well, Larry Newman from Blackhawk, and as a resident of Northdale Sanitary District, I know it's on the agenda later, but I just say I'd appreciate it if you people would sponsor our grant to move our sewer main before the people in Hideaway Hills fill that abandoned mine with shit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Does anybody else from the public wish to speak before the commission today? Anybody else wish to speak before the commission today? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to routine business of register of deeds.
I have some comments, Shirley.
Apologize, Commissioner Leggett.
So we have an upcoming election for school board, and I'm going to remind everybody that political signs are not authorized in right-of-ways. So state law, section 3128.14 allows us to remove those signs. Please remove those signs as of today. I did authorize or did ask the highway department to start picking those signs up. They may or may not make it back to the shops before the election is over, but please keep your signs out of the right of way. And Gary and I met with, we went to a kind of a meeting, shop meeting with some residents in Pennington County about conditional use permit in Box Elder for a gravel, I think it's a gravel pit, but the concern there is it's right beside Box Elder, and they would be utilizing Meade County roads, I think, to get there, which would be Antelope Creek, 150th and 225th, or 151st maybe. So I guess kind of keeping tabs on what's going on just around our edges as well.
Yep. Anything else?
You know, I guess I might state last week I went to the Western United States County Commissioners Convention in Rapid City. It was 4 days. It was very educational. Met a lot of commissioners from across the United States. Got some new ideas. And anybody wants to know anything more about it later, I will tell them.
Came back full of ideas.
I came back full of ideas and all kinds of reading materials I'm going to share with all of you.
Good. We're excited.
And we are definitely not the highest tax state in the country.
Seeing no one else wanting to come forward before that, is there Register of Deeds office here? From that office, State's Attorney, have anything to report? Treasurer's office. Would you, Doreen, how's the new hours working?
They're just slammed down there. I actually, I noticed that there was a story in the Black Hills Pioneer about how Lawrence County is stressed out, Pennington County is stressed out. It's the same situation across the state. the Department of Revenue and Pier has got to get these software issues ironed out.
Has there been any problems with the new hours that you know of?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Haven't heard.
All I know is that Robin's probably putting in 60, 70 hours a week.
Let's move down to Sheriff. If you'd want to go ahead and give the report first, Deputy Johnson.
Good morning, Commission. James Johns, Chief Deputy, Meade County Sheriff's Office. As the numbers suggest, we are on par for where we've been. No significant changes in the work that the deputies have been doing. Excuse me. Our traffic stops remain high in comparison to the first few months of 2025, but that's expected to be with the good weather and things like that moving in. Same numbers with the jail. We seem to be on course for where we have been in the past. So no significant changes there.
Any questions on the reports? I did notice on your jail report there's a couple acronyms I don't recognize, but DOC,
Department of Corrections,
of course, USMS,
United States Marshal Service.
what I thought, and then ICE is obviously. Is that obviously? Is this the first year we started taking these, or we've been taking the federal
Yes.
prisoners? Okay.
Yep.
Usually that's just an overnight.
Usually just overnight, sometimes just passing through, sometimes we arrest them here. So they're a local arrest, so they go to our jail before they can be transported or transferred to a long-term holding facility.
Any other questions?
Do we have any transports stopping by anymore?
Not very often, is stopping in.
Overnight while they
While they
shower, feed, and the drivers get a reprieve.
We really haven't been seeing that. Obviously, the shuttle service that we use through the Pennington County Sheriff's Office remains our top priority. So every once in a while, we'll see somebody that comes in and needs a break and houses a prisoner here.
I got a question for you, JJ. On communications, how are we doing on staffing and reduction of overtime?
We're working on that. We hired an individual who's going to be taking over the lead supervisor position for our dispatch center. One of her goals is going to be to address that overtime situation in there and work on a staffing schedule that works. I wanted to say that we were fully staffed, but a little bird told me that we might not be fully staffed here in a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
All right. I just it's later in the agenda, but I know that you're here now. So.
Certainly.
Any other questions for the Sheriff's Office or jail or communications? Not, let's move down to D3, which is consider surplusing 2 retired silver deputy sheriff badges. So if you'd like to give us the...
Yeah, so as we were going through things, we found some old badges that were sitting in the back of a drawer. And we came up with an idea to use these to repurpose them for the Meade County Cares Fund through the Fraternal Order of Police. And then to decorate them and sell them off to raise money for the Meade County Cares program. This is the program that takes kids shopping in December, pays for things like participation in the city floats and things like that when we've got parades and things like that, so that taxpayer expenses aren't being used for that. These silver badges, they're silver and they're not gold, so they're no good for the sheriff's office equipment or anything like that. So we worked through RIA's office and the state's attorney, and we need them declared surplus, and then we will sell them to Meade County Cares and raffle them off eventually as a decorative piece down the road.
Pat said you were going to make them into spurs.
So I don't want to.
You don't want to say for sure until you know?
No, they're going to be part of Spurs, but I'm trying to be very careful. Meade County Cares purchased a custom-made set of Spurs that say MCSO 2025 on them.
Oh.
And I happen to know the spur maker very well. It's a relative, so I won't won't use this time to broadcast his name, but they're really cool spurs. And again, it's just an effort to raise the money for Meade County Cares and to put some money in that fund so that come Christmas we're not begging for money to take kids that need to go Christmas shopping.
Well, I'll make the motion to surplus those to the Sheriff's Department for whatever use they can find.
I'll second.
Motion and a second on the floor to surplus those two badges to the Sheriff's Office. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right,
Thank you, Deputy Johns. Let's run down to E on the agenda, highway traffic count analysis.
Good morning, Nathan Jagum, Assistant Highway Superintendent, filling in for Troy. He's got a meeting right now, so if there's any questions, looking over to see where we were last. Peterson Road, Feather Place, and Dias, all kind of in that Rapid City area, just north of Rapid City, so hence the heavy traffic there, and then the ones that we have set up now are out in the country, so those counts will be far different once they get back. So if there's any questions, comments, or any place you would like to see us put those traffic counters, just let us know and we will get them tackled. Basically, we're just going back and collecting data from roads that were collected probably back in 2022 when we first started the program. So just kind of working over some of those roads again.
I appreciate the data, and I think we're starting to get enough data now that we can maybe make some plans going forward on how we utilize some of these and maintain the roads in a little bit better order. So I think that's a good thing, and I'm glad we're getting the data.
Yeah, and I would just make the comment, like, if you look at Dias Road, how there's 468 this time, but 558 last time. When we first started this program, we just started by putting one traffic counter out on the road. Now we've taken it and collect traffic on, or counts on both ends of the road. So the data is not necessarily consistent with what we did in the past, and that's why you see those dropping numbers, is because obviously one end of the road is typically busier than the other, but now we're taking the full length of the road and capturing on both ends and combining those together so that overall number will drop. But I think it just gives us a better idea of what you're seeing on the entire road instead of just on the busiest portion of the road, which then again, we come back and do the high and the low just so you know that there are those variances on a stretch of road where we collect the data.
There's so Dias is an interesting one. That's a gravel road with what do we have, 1,000 cars for the high? No.
Yeah, 876. Yeah.
Which we're getting up there.
Yeah.
It'll only get higher. I wonder if either Nate or Rich could give an update. You know, we went through a bad winter and the roads were in bad shape, and now we've gone through spring and we've gotten moisture. What's the overall status going forward? What is going to be the main emphasis in the next couple of weeks? You know, we have people asking, will we be mainly graveling, filling potholes, routine maintenance, or what's on?
I mean, it's a lot of routine maintenance, and I think our gravel crews are out by Elm Springs. Is that right? They're working on some projects out there. We haul a lot of gravel every month, 5,000 to 10,000 tons of gravel, I think, a month, it seems like. And I mean, it's just a lot of shaping. Coming out of winter, we didn't have real good moisture in the roads.
Right.
Obviously, I think the blades will be out next couple days, trying to get some of those roads shaped up. Be aware of that. Give them space. We have 1,100 miles of road, and we only have 10 operators. So,
are the roads? Did they hold up pretty well during this rain, or are they super soft?
Yeah, I mean, I would just preach patience. I mean, it is an ongoing process. I mean, you, like Rich said, we have dry conditions which don't allow us to get that material put on the road, to stay in place. And then we get rain on top of it. So, we have to clear the gravel off to make the roads not so rough when it's dry. And then we try to put that material slowly back on and build it back up and build the crown up so it can, shed the water. So we get them in place, and then we get 2 inches of rain. We've had multiple 2 inches of rain, in the last month. So that kind of sets you back after you spent so much time building it up. But we're constantly trying to get that gravel on there, get the slope of the road right, and then hopefully be able to walk away from it. But we're having to go back over and over and over again because of the heavy rains.
Well,
generally, I'd say that the roads are in pretty fair shape.
Well, I asked that question because, there have been some comments asking about, filling the potholes, and of course, throughout the winter months, people were complaining. That's just kind of part of life. But at the same token, we've had a lot of rain, and this is the first time I recall where we had a lot of rain. I didn't get a phone call. Did any of you?
Yeah.
There's still some, there's still some areas that needed attention, and like Rich said, we're out in the Elm Springs area right now. They got a lot of rain last year out in that area.
They've gotten tons of gravel, haven't they, in the last 3 years?
We did some quick fixes last year on some stuff, but we couldn't get into some of the pits because there was too much rain and we couldn't get to it. So really, right now we're working on things that we were hoping to get done last year that we weren't able to because of the rain. So this year they haven't got as much rain as some of the other areas, and so we're just kind of chasing our tail that way. But you just work with the conditions that you get, and like I said, we'll get there and we'll get it shaped up. I just ask for patience while we cover the roads.
As Nate mentioned, it's patience as much as anything. How many tons of gravel do you have in a ballpark last year? What you guys hauled, 250,000, something like that?
Yeah, I think like Rich said, we were averaging 5 to 10,000. I didn't look at the numbers.
I mean, to put that in perspective, it sounds like a lot, but it's roughly 20, 30 miles of. It takes 2,000 tons to gravel a mile of road. So with 1,100 miles, I guess I travel quite a bit of the roads, and I'm noticing overall improvement. I'd say overall, it's just the crew can't be everywhere all the time. Even, you take my district of Hereford. We got a very good operator out there, and there's times it gets muddy. There's times it gets rough, but at the same time, you're hauling a lot of gravel. Trucks are moving all the time, and that's I know I appreciate that.
I would just say look at Elkville. I mean, that was a great example of a road last year from Tilford to Alkali. Was very hard to traverse when it rained. I drove it after we got one of those 2 inches of rain and had no issues whatsoever, not a mud spot on the road, and I was like, this is the first time I've been able to do this in the 20 years I've worked here.
So overall, there's improvement, but you're going to find areas that are not good. That's just inevitable.
Yep.
The end of April, we had hauled 33,400 tons of gravel for the winter months, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and this month we're doing on par. I'm thinking that 10,000, 8 to 10 would be my guess.
Yep.
I haven't seen the numbers.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
So the only one thing I'd point out is that Peterson Road count. That's the road that a number of people on that when they're here on the airport project brought up too. That the poor shape of Peterson Road. Just so the commission has an idea of the traffic flow.
Yeah, and I would say that that's a road that I've discussed with Troy doing a full. We need to replace the culverts on there too. So that is a project that we are going to work on the culverts hopefully this year and this summer and get those replaced before we do a full graveling over that probably this fall. So again, patience please. It is a work in progress, but yes, it is on our radar that it is a very heavily trafficked road. It has some issues with some drainage that we need to get fixed before we put gravel on it. So we can just rebuild it from the bottom up and have new culverts, new gravel. Hopefully in a year from now, we're looking at Peterson as one of our, better roads like Elkville is now. So it's on our radar and we're aware of it. So we are definitely working towards getting that into better shape.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd point out to the commission is you should take a look at the map associated with this. Long term, there's got to be a second way in and out deeper into that area. And frankly, probably the best spot is a section line road going up to 220th, probably eventually, what needs to happen in that area. So we just got to remain cognizant of that as people come in and start subdividing or looking at subdividing to provide an avenue through there, given the growth in the area.
You know, 2 weeks ago I drove down Husker and Peterson Road, and I was really amazed at how nice some of those houses were and what questionable access they had.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the problem, I mean, it's our age-old problem. You got marginal access. So what ends up is under our rules, you can only break the lots up. They have to be larger lots, so you don't get the good density on that. So what's that do? It drives us building more roads for fewer houses. And so it's part of this problem. And, you know, I mean, we don't have the money to get seriously ahead of it, but, you know, doing this Haynes project and looking at doing some of Peterson work on that, those all make sense. We got to look for those opportunities. But it's tough, and it's likely not going to slow down.
You know, maybe we also need to look at our acreage requirement.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got a couple different things on that. Acreage requirement, I think there's some positive to how we have acreage, but you know, we have the one way in, one way out requirement too, where all of a sudden, you know, really nobody should be allowed to build off of Peterson Road anymore based on. But there's a lot of ground there. Probably should be properly developed and deployed. Oh, I mean, I know that. I know you guys want another mile of county road.
Speaking of Haynes, we have had a number of potholes develop, and Highway Department has been actively trying to keep up with those. So, again, patient.
That's going to be a 2026.
Current indication is it's possible it is 2026. We allowed for multiple year construction. We have not confirmed that, I don't believe, but that's the indication they gave.
Again, when I was driving that road 2 weeks ago, a couple of times I noticed it was better than like East St. Patrick and a few others in Rapid City. It's just little close.
Elk Vale towards the soccer fields is pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else on highway. Mr. Yagam, could you put you on the spot just a bit? Could you give us an update? You're the weed and pest coordinator, so could you give us a little update on some of the programs you're working on getting into summer?
Yeah, as we had the resolution for the Forest Service on the last agenda. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any work done in the Forest Service on National Forest land. We did still receive some grant dollars from the state to treat on private property adjacent to National Forest land, which will help out for those landowners who might not see, the treatments that are typically done on the Forest Service year after year. There will be an avenue for them to get some help on their own private property. So if they just want to contact the office, we'll send out mailings and stuff like that like we typically do. But if there's specific instances that people are having issues getting, treatments from the Forest Service or assistance from the Forest Service, because they're also very low staffed as well, feel free to call our office and we'll try to help out those landowners in that instance. Like I said, we have the funding available for that kind of work. So if it's a need where we can assist, we'll gladly do that. With that, we also take care of the state highways in Meade County, which includes Highway 34, 79, 73, 212, and I-90. That's through a joint powers agreement with the DOT. So you'll see the county staff out there spraying those roads as well as our county right-of-ways. We cover all of our county right-of-ways and spray for primarily Canada thistle, creeping jenny, and a lot of kochia, which is starting to pop up right now. So we're trying to get some early treatments on that because it's a lot more cost-effective and easier to do and saves us in the long run in the mowing portion of that. So we will be doing that. And then we work with our municipalities as well, City of Faith and City of Sturgis and Piedmont, if interested. We try to help those government agencies out with any spraying that they have as well. So.
And again, would you remind the public what you use to spray?
It depends on the situation. I mean, there's a lot of different. It depends on the weed species that we're going after. So we have, a lot of different herbicides at our disposal. It just depends on the specific weed that we're targeting.
Why don't you just name a couple?
Without using name brands, there are, I would say metsulfuron and, put me on the spot.
Remember these big long.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I don't care if you use the name brand.
Typically our programs are Milestone and Escort. They're typically what we use for majority of our pasture treatments, which is, like I said, they're just your normal run-of-the-mill, non-restricted use pesticides that we purchase and use.
Any other questions? Hey, thanks, Chris.
Yep.
Let's go down to planning. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Tanya Vig, Planning Director. I thought I'd start off with introducing my new staff member. This is Thomas King. He'll be doing planning and GIS.
Good.
So I just thought I'd introduce him to start.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in Hewlett, Wyoming. Was in the military for 8 years. Finished my bachelor's at Black Hills State University in environmental science. Currently working on my master's in civil and environmental engineering in North Dakota.
Real good. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Welcome.
Good.
Come on, can we have one fun fact?
Yeah.
Tom, give us a fun fact. I heard something very interesting. I think everybody would love to hear it.
Oh. What exactly would that be?
Maria, you want to give the fun fact?
Are you in a band?
No, I do voice acting for Games Workshop in the Black Library on the side.
For the what?
I do voice acting for the Black Library. It's an audiobook.
Oh.
Like audiobooks and...
So you're kind of an actor on the side.
Sort of. It's a lot easier when I don't have to show my face and I'm just talking to myself in my house.
Okay. Good. We will quiz you all the time. Most military people do grow their hair out when they're out. And their beards.
Just say thanks, Mom, and move.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the appropriate response.
I'm probably the only military mom who says, please grow your hair longer. I hate the military haircut.
You have anything else, Doreen?
Nothing.
Well, welcome, Tom.
Yeah, welcome,
Yeah.
Tom. Well, let's move down to F1 on the agenda, the variance request.
Morning. Earlier, Black River LLC is here for the second approach variance. All the items have been met starting when we started in May. All the 1 through 12 items have been met. Also, we reached out to City of Somerset. Anthony and their engineer went on site Friday and inspected the second approach along Norman Avenue, and came back and they support the second approach. Norm Avenue will be the road eventually. I know Troy and I went out on field. Troy also supported the approach location also. So I think our staff supports it and Somerset supports it.
We're good to go now.
Yep. Good. Any other questions, comments, interaction? Commissioner Wysorick, do you have anything from the planning committee?
No, I don't.
Any other questions, comments?
Tanya, there's no more recommendations from the planning. We're good.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the second access.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor to approve this variance request for second access. Is there any discussion to that motion?
Thanks for reaching out for Somerset.
Yeah.
I mean, I think important that they have say in these things.
Any more discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming in, Dave.
Thank you all. Thank you, Tanya.
Yep, thank you.
Brings us to F2 on the agenda, which is the Meade County On-Call Engineering Support Services Agreement. Commissioner Liggett is going to abstain from discussion and action on this item.
So I reached out
Abstain,
to,
actually, I think probably recuse.
Oh, recused from F2 and
Yep. Sorry, go ahead, Ms. Vick.
So I reached out to HDR Engineering for professional services, for assist with reviewing, for all ordinances that pertain to plats, engineering, anything that the planning department or the highway department could also use this contract with. The goal of this is to, when large projects come in, that we have a second look at it. I don't know all the items that go into everything, the drainage, roads and stuff. Trying to just make sure our projects are in good standings. The goal of the project is when the project would come in, is a task order would go to HDR Engineering. This is what we would need for services. If it's something minor, plats, preliminary plats, easements, some of that stuff can stay within my office. I'm still capable of doing those. Some reviewing I'm able to do, but if it's a large project, like Infinity Landing or a couple of the plats that are coming through with the water and new roads, that this would go out for a second review. It is to review against their ordinances to make sure they meet the ordinance requirement. It's not for them to design the project for the engineer. They will comment back to me, and then I would give those comments to the applicant that submitted the project.
Are we going to have that airport? Are we going to have them look at that airport subdivision? Is that one of our first projects, or are there some others?
They'll look at it on the final stage, the final platting part of it. The preliminary part has been approved, but our preliminary and final plats have such different requirements for engineering. The preliminary has been approved, as is, but the final, when they come through the final, they would be looked at, yes.
Good. Before they get to us?
Yes, before
they get to planning?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, comments on this?
I have a couple comments. And the first, I'm going to apologize because these are probably comments that should have gone to Tanya before to run by the engineer that proposed the contract. There's a couple changes that I think we need to request from the engineer. First being under subsection 4, where they do a 10% add-on to any sub-consultant or subcontractor. Find that problematic, that they get a lift. I've been familiar with like where the feds won't allow those in various contracts when there's federal funding. So I'd like to strike that and put in place that the county would just pay those guys directly, so that way the engineering firm doesn't have that money out, and also removes that argument on vicarious liability pretty much because the contract now is directly with the sub-consultants. I don't frankly think we're going to need that, or there will be sub-consultants, but the last thing I want to run into is they farm out some kind of review to a third party on flood analysis, and we're getting hit for 10x% on it. I'm not saying that HDR would do it. I've worked with HDR before with the city of Somerset, and I thought they did a really nice job and tend to be cost conscious. The other thing in Exhibit B, this is something I see in engineering contracts, is something I pointed out before that I believe that county then asked, I think it was Rose, to take out under Section 15 under allocation of risk. In this Section B, they talk about they have $1 million in coverage, but then they limit any claims to whatever their fee was. So, you know, really, I think we should get the benefit of the insurance coverage, the $1 million insurance coverage. So I think we should strike where it's limited to lesser of language in 15. Because, I mean, you've got the insurance. You tell us you got the $1 million insurance, but then you limit it to maybe 50,000, a claim to 15,000 or 50,000. And I'm not exactly sure the breadth and scope of that, because it doesn't say it's limited to professional services necessarily. You know, whether it's just unrelated act of negligence that causes damages. So, and I apologize because I probably should have got those comments to Tanya, so she could have gone back before. My recommendation is perhaps to continue this forward as we approve it, subject to those couple changes. We go back to HDR. If they come back with different language, then we can look at it at the next meeting.
So yeah, I would, if that's agreeable to the rest of the commission, we could approve it with those changes if those changes are agreeable. But I guess they would have to, if it's not with HDR, well, they could approve it with those changes as well.
Right.
So therefore, it could be approved that way. Or we could send it back to them, which that would take longer. So that would be, I think that'd be advisable. Ken, do you have any advice on that? No. Are you clear on the changes?
Yes.
Would you agree with those changes?
Yes.
Commissioner Weisork is offering.
Yeah. I could put them in the record specifically. If so desired.
Well, would you have time? We could move on this item if you would have time to get that typed out exactly what you wanted. Is that so? We're okay, and then we can come back to it and take action on that.
Sure, that'd be fine.
Okay. Well, let's move down to F3 in the agenda then, which is a resolution.
The resolution 2517 is to establish the fees for on-call engineering services, which the county will incur. We would attachment 1, which is the contract, has their hourly fees. We acknowledge those. For each get resolved for each preliminary plat and final plat, the applicant shall deposit with Meade County for engineering services. For plats, I listed out, I did it by acreage for this time around. I wasn't real sure if we should do it by lots. I did by acres. If it was less than 5 acres or less, it was $1,250 for a deposit. For 5 acres, but less than 25 was $2,500, and for greater than 25 acres was $3,250. And then also we did a resolution, further resolve that professional engineering consulting related services incurred by the county other than platting would be the responsibility of the landowner, developer, or contractor. So in person, this is for any other ordinance 10, which is roads, 34, buildings, floodplain, whatever else it would be needed. I included in this resolution.
So to be clear, the landowner, developer, contractor is paying all the engineering costs that would be incurred. However, those numbers listed are it's just a deposit which was
just for
basically estimated at what you would assume would be almost half. Is that how you base that on? Okay.
Those deposits were just for the preliminary and final plats.
The other, which there could be other engineering costs that come up on other things, but you just that would just be cost incurred is what the landowner would pay. at that time? Okay. Just no deposits on those, because they'd be significantly less. Is that's the reason? Any other questions, comments on this resolution? Mr. Wyzorek, do you have anything to add? I'll just call you out since you deal with this more than any of us.
Yeah, just that it assumes that that contract's in final form, I think, and we're going to make some edits to it. So, but really, what you're looking at is just price listing on this.
HDR's prices are just for the current year of 2025. They'll reset their fee schedule at 2026. So we'll revisit this in December also.
And I think we're probably okay because it just really what it's incorporating is the attachment one. Not so much the agreement as the attachment one numbers. So.
Any other questions, comments, and/or action on this item?
Make a motion to approve Meade County Resolution 2025-17.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve Meade County Resolution 2025-17. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Go down to F4, Meade County Resolution 2025-18.
So I've updated two items on the section line right away, vacate and relocate was 250. Changing it to 350, just the amount of work and how much goes into that. And then the section line improvement, there was no fee established for that. Establishing a $350 fee. They still do the petition, the letters, it still gets reviewed by our office.
Any questions, comments? Mr. Liggett, you'd probably have the most, or Mr. Liggett and or Severn probably have the most knowledge on some of this.
I mean, honestly, these just take a lot of time. I know every hour that you spend on them is time that we have to recoup, and the improvement portion, that's actually a review piece that you do for the road itself. So, and it's not just you; it's the highway department and everything else. So, they make sense to me.
My guess, even at these rates, we don't recoup all the costs associated.
Yeah, my concern was it was plenty low, in my opinion. Just for the record, Commissioner Liggett, was this the first item under planning that you are back?
Yes.
Okay. So if you could make note of that, please.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. We missed you. Any other questions, comments on this agenda? Resolution. Questions, comments, and or action?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-18.
Motion and a second on the floor to approve Meade County Resolution 2025-18. Is there any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Vick. I have 10 o'clock, so let's just move down. We do have a correction to make in our April 22nd, 2025 minutes. It's pertaining to the bid opening for the gravel crushing. It was discovered that the minutes was recorded as reading the hearing to happen on May 28th, which is tomorrow. We have checked. It was posted correctly. It was posted for the 27th, so it's just simply a mistake in the minutes. But that will need to be corrected. Any other questions, comments, and or action on that item?
I'll make a motion to approve the corrected minutes.
Motion and a second on the floor to approve correcting of the minutes, I guess is possibly a better term. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There's just a update from the community health nurse. Just as you see in there. No one was going to be available today. Is that correct? Any questions on that?
There's not a lot of traffic through that office, it doesn't look like. No. The bottom, I think.
So we want to go back up to
Certainly.
F2. Magic of the internet. Clever Ads reviewed my proposed language, and I sent an email to Chris with the proposed language, and I can make my motion. If that suits everybody.
Yes.
All right, I'll move for approval of the contract with HDR with the following edits. In section Roman numeral 4, strike the last sentence and replace it with the following. If a subcontractor or a subconsultant is needed, the owner shall contract with them and pay them directly. Owner in that situation is the county. And in Exhibit B, Section 15, strike the terms, quote, limited to the lesser of, close quote, and then strike, quote, or its fee, close quote. So those would be the two edits that would then limit the liability to the $1 million coverage they have. And if we ever get in a situation where a subconsultant or a subcontractor is needed, the county would have to contract directly and pay directly.
Is that clear? Is there any questions to Commissioner Wyzorek's motion? I guess, do I have a second for discuss that? Motion and a second on the floor. Is there any questions, comments to that motion? Commissioner Kleber, sorry, Ken, you've reviewed that? Commissioner Wyzorek, I believe, said that.
I have. I think the changes accomplish what he noted for the issues. Tanya was aware, and she'll review and send it back to him with those changes.
Okay, any other discussion to that motion?
Just again, I apologize. I should have had that language out HDR.
Any more hearing none, no more discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for working on that. Sure.
And I wonder if we need to get with Wade and find out if she's been replaced or if we're just holding the office, because if you've only had 13 clients in 3 months, we might need to be looking at that.
Was there a reason they weren't here today, Rhea? Is that
I am the nurse with the Department of Health office in Sturgis. I am attaching the commission report for January through April 2025, and will plan to attend a face-to-face meeting with the commissioners in November if you think that will work. And that is from Melinda Wolf.
So apparently she is an RN, if she says there.
Yes, she is an RN.
Okay, because she didn't sign it as an RN on that report.
Her signature line does show an RN.
On yours, okay.
If I remember correctly, I believe when we met with Wade, we did ask for not just reports, but I think we did ask for at least quarterly face-to-face reports.
I believe we did.
So if you could send a letter or email to them encouraging them to come to one of our meetings in June, possibly the second meeting in June, as we have a lot on the 10th.
Okay.
What I would suggest.
I think you should also ask her to bring an update as to why she believes there's so little usage.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on that? Not. I'm skipping over you intentionally, Jennifer, because I think it's going to take a little bit longer before our hearings. So let's move down to auditor, K1.
Your monthly report is prepared for you for review. Of note, the annual 911 report has been submitted. Dawn had a huge month for apportioning, obviously, because it's first half of taxes being due. We do have the school board election on June 3rd that we will be running the tabulator for. For Meade School District, there's also, just so the public knows, they can vote on June 3rd at the Black Hawk Fire Hall. If they would like to absentee vote, they can fill out an online absentee request, mail it to our office, and the school district will send them an absentee ballot.
Are all precinct polling places open then?
No, there are a limited number. The country ones are open for the Meade 46-1 district, the normal ones. And the Sturgis Community Center.
Let's go down to overtime report. Any questions on that?
My only question was the communications one. We're burning quite a little through there.
Any questions, comments on this? Okay, let's move down to K3, special event license.
We did receive an application for the special event license for the Brandon Delzer Pedro Dennis Memorial Bull Riding event, which will be June 20th and 21st. I believe this is the first time it's a 2-day event. And application is submitted as normal. No issues that I'm aware of.
This is something we do every year, I believe.
Yes.
Questions, comments, and/or action?
I'll make a motion to approve the special event license for the Brandon Delzer Pedro Dennis Memorial Bull Riding event, 20th, 21st.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second on the floor to approve the special event license. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Maybe it's of interest, Earl, maybe you have a little more information on this, but I was told by Tammy, the owner of the bar, that this will be the last year that they are supporting this specific event, but they will be coming back next year asking for the same license in support of a new event that they will support for a period of time.
Yes, we've actually held this benefit for the last 10 years. So, in sitting down and discussing this, we've decided that it's probably time to try to sponsor, try to have a memorial event for a different reason. We are open to ideas. I know Thad and Michelle are definitely looking at some other options, but if anybody has any special events that they would like to see this be a benefit for, we're definitely open to ideas.
Would it raise more money if you'd get back on a bull at some point in time?
It wouldn't matter. I'd be divorced.
And you're looking for ideas. You're looking for ideas.
That idea.
Commissioner on a bull, I think it may. Yeah. Commissioner 7.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to stall a bit because I have 1 minute.
But yeah, no, it is a worthwhile benefit by any means. It usually raises somewhere in the neighborhood of, I want to say 12 to 15,000 for these. For the Brandon Delzer Pedro Dennis Memorial. It does go to scholarship funds, and then any leftover money that is actually done, he does donate to 4-H and other small nonprofit deals. So it's definitely a worthwhile event in the community.
Thank you. Let's move to, it is 10 o'clock according to my watch, so let's move down. We have 2 hearings. A bid opening for crushing and stockpiling of gravel surfacing and aggregate. Mr. Eggum. We did have some bids, just to bring this back up. We had a couple meetings ago, we had to reject all bids because not all the information was included in those bids.
Does look like we have 3 Ethan Jagum, Assistant Highway Superintendent with Meade County. It looks like we have 3 bids, one from Western Construction, one from 63 Industries, and one from RCI, Rogers Construction. All are labeled with gravel crushing bid on the front. First bid from Western Construction looks to include all of the pertinent information, bid bond, prohibited entity status, and we have a number of $6.05 per ton for a total of $363,000 for 60,000 tons. I will have to just double check and make sure that there is an agreement with the landowner and where this, it does say Bob Berry property near section 18 township, 6 north range 12 east. The second bid we have is from Rogers Construction. Looks to have the agreement with the landowner, the prohibited entity status, the bid bond, and it is for a total of $5.69 a ton, for a total of $341,400.
Pictures. I don't recall it.
Last one is from 63 Industries, and it looks like we have the release form from the landowner, prohibited entity status, liability insurance, and that is $6.65 for a total of $399,000 for 60,000 tons.
Can you repeat that, please?
That is from 63 Industries, and that bid price is $6.65 for a total of $399,000.
Okay.
I will review these with State's Attorney, and
Sure.
we will come back to you next meeting.
There is a hearing. Does anyone from the public wish to speak to this? Not seeing anybody? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, let's go to H2 on the agenda, proposed Wonderland Road District.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rhea Crane, Meade County Auditor. We did receive the proposed Wonderland Road District petitions on March 28, 2025. They were presented to the Commission on April 22nd. Since that time, the survey, the map, and the petition have been publicly displayed from April 26th through May 27th, and I did attach the affidavit signed by Jan Heeman that said that they were displayed. The City of Somerset did have to grant their approval because this is within the 3-mile plating or extraterritorial jurisdiction. So the City of Somerset minutes are attached showing that they did grant this, they did approve that they go ahead and move forward with this road district. So if you believe that all the matters of this chapter have been met, you would order a petition to create the road district. At such time that you approve an order, I will actually set the election date.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Is there anyone from the public wish to speak to this? Anyone from the public wish to come forward and speak? If not, I will close public testimony on this. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
I was surprised they didn't have a road district.
Any questions, comments, and or action from the commissioners?
The motion would be to order.
Ken, would you come forward, please?
What is the correct motion to approve?
You want this, or do you want the proposed motion that I put in?
Motion to approve the order declaring Wonderland Road District.
Well, they haven't had an election, have they?
I was confused by this as well, Talbot, but this is the procedure that we go through. After you approve this order saying that that you believe that they have satisfactorily met the requirements of of SDCL, then I will set the election date. Then you will actually do another order declaring, I forget the exact terminology, but it is another order declaring the incorporation of the road district.
After the election.
After the election.
So the auditor selects, the auditor sets the election. We just are simply saying they have everything in order.
Correct, that they followed the mandates of 3112A, which is displaying the map and
right, and it does say that they have to still go through election in the actual resolution.
And this is because it has less than 1,000 property owners. The election is actually held in an evening. There's no early voting. She'll set a date, and the date is on board docs there. From 5 to 7, they'll meet and vote during that time. If the vote is majority yes, then they will move on to the trustee elections.
The auditor sets the date and the venue to have the election?
Correct.
And when you say majority, it would be the majority of homeowners?
Landowners.
Of landowners
Yes.
within that district.
Yes, and landowners it's defined. If you've got the most common example, husband-wife joint ownership, they get one vote.
So if there's 30 landowners, they have to have 16
Correct.
voting yes. Okay.
And then public corporations designate someone to vote for them. If anybody owns multiple properties in the area, they get one vote regardless of the number of properties they own.
So regardless of who shows up to vote, they have
Correct.
to have a
Majority of those who show up.
Any other questions, comments, interaction?
So I'll make a motion to order to approve the order.
Approve the order declaring Wonderland Road District.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second on the floor to approve the order of the Wonderland Road District.
You could make this more confusing.
Yeah. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So following the passage of that order, as auditor, I will declare the election date to be July 15th, 2025, from 5 to 7 p.m. here in the Meade County Commission Room. And I have been in touch with Eric Neese and with Jan Heeman, who is actually in the room, and they will do some advertising. I will publish it in the Faith Independent, but as we know, that probably doesn't do a lot of good for the voters in the Blackhawk area. So they will do some advertising locally so that the local residents are aware.
And it's up to them to do the advertising?
Yes.
It's not up to us? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Well, let's move down then. Is there any other questions on that process? Okay, let's move down to the J on the agenda, Black Hills Council Local Governments, Ms. Seatsma.
Yes, I do. Is that your performance report, Jennifer? Okay. Sure.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, ladies.
Jennifer Seatsma, Executive Director with Black Hills Council of Local Governments. Each year I like to get out in front of each of our members. We have 21 members, 9 counties and 11 cities, to just give you an update on our annual report. This report covers work activities performed by our office from January 1st through December 31st, 2024. So the first page of this report identifies our member representatives. Our board is made up of a county commissioner from every county, with the exception of Pennington County. They have an extra one due to their population. And then also a member representative from each of the city members, with the exception of Rapid City. They have 3. This is current as of the end of 2024. So we had an election of officers in January, so for this year this has changed. We currently have Commissioner Creed on our executive board, as well as the city administrator, Lisa Schaefer, who both accepted nominations to our executive board. Our staff, we brought on Trevor Madsen in December, so he's been with us for 6 months. That would be one of the only changes from last year. The next page is really just an introduction of the council, gives a background. We've been around since 1972 doing different types of work for our cities and counties, and then the services we provide. This has changed a little bit over the years. We still continue to do all these things, but we have been getting more requests from our county for some simple administrative things that might be a little bit out of the box, but our counties have less opportunity to apply for a lot of the funding sources that we administrate and assist with. So I would just say, if you have those types of needs internally, whether it's just some data entry or those types of projects, census information, maps, things like that, we're happy to help. Just reach out and let us know what your needs are. For funding, in 2024, our expenses were $407,295. That is lower than what our budget actually is. We had hired somebody in January, and they left the office, and so I kind of just filled both of those positions, working between 60 and 80 hours a week for most of 2024. So it's been nice to get somebody hired and able to fill in, especially on the travel. 23.5% of our funding comes from our local government dues, and the rest comes from local contracts and cooperative agreements with state and federal funding partners who pay us or subsidize it. Highlights: there were a total of 60 applications that were prepared and submitted. Successful proposals resulted in $46,588,891 of outside funding, meaning not local funds. That is state and federal funding, and that was within the 12-month period covered in this report. Additionally, we wrote funding proposals for ourselves that resulted in an additional $288,194 in direct funding for our office. This next bullet point, the biggest thing to know there is there was a merger between Black Hills Community Economic Development and another entity from East River, and so now they have become Ally Dakota. They provide assistance to small businesses for expansion or working capital through their revolving loan fund, and their current loan portfolio is over $101 million, with 249 loans, and they had 109 retained jobs and 40 new jobs with the loan fund that they're managing. The rest of this will be covered later on in the report. We did complete one mitigation plan and secured funding for 2 additional ones. Those are required to be updated every 5 years. So with our 9 counties, Kaylee manages that by rotating those,
doing a few a year. Yeah, I guess we currently have Davis-Bacon administration on 86 separate contracts, so that is very time intensive. It requires to be out on projects and doing interviews, and then ensuring that the information we're collecting from those interviews matches up with the payrolls for every employee that is working on a federally funded project in our region. The next page is the acronym list. These acronyms are used throughout the report, so just wanted to provide that. I forget how much I talk in acronyms until I hire a new staff, and then I realize it probably looks and sounds like alphabet soup. Moving on to page 17, Meade County. The top section of this page, I felt, when I came on as director, I felt like it was really important for our counties to understand what you're getting for your money and what your return on investment is. So I went back, I felt comfortable going back with the records I could find to 2000 within our organization, so I made a clean cut there and moved forward. This first one is subsistence obtained, so $106 million have been brought into your county from outside sources in the last 24 years. And then the total dues, I want you to understand that number doesn't represent just Lawrence or just Meade County's dues. That also represents the other city members. So originally, only cities that exceed 1,000 in population actually pay us. All those cities that are smaller than 1,000 receive their services under your Meade County contract. So we've done a lot of work in faith with their wastewater and new water tower. So they would be an example of an entity that is served by the county's membership. So total dues paid is, $294,000 over 24 years, and that would include Sturgis and Somerset. Okay. So with a return on investment of 361 to 1. These projects, again, this is only for 2024. So our current projects list is over 150 projects that we're administrating, but the projects listed here are just new projects that sought or received funding in 2024. Some of these that show pending now have actually received their funding assistance, and some of them, the Regional Food Business Center, so the RFBC applications, we've received notice from the federal government that program has been canceled, so we already know that those will not receive funding, and that's just one of the changes at the federal level for these types of programs. So we know that those will not be awarded. Moving on, so it looks like 3,296,840 was secured for funding. That's a low year. That's kind of small. That's why I was checking that number. But 12 applications were submitted, and then the recent work activities. Those are the types of work activities that take our time, that don't necessarily result in a new funds brought in. So once we secure the funding for those projects, there's federal requirements and regulations that have to be met, and we are the entity that manages all of that. So. And then all the way through project closeout and project, I think we've closed out 26 projects in 2024, which project closeout can be a heavy lift. So getting those off the books is really helpful so that we can accept additional projects. Any questions at all about this report or the information provided? Our dues notices typically go out at the end of May for the following year, and those will be coordinate that through RIA. Okay. So if there's no questions at all on the report, we can move on to.
Any other questions, comments?
Oh, mitigation. Yeah. Okay. Kaylee Snyder, Black Hills Council, Local Governments. So a little over a year ago, Sean and I had met with you guys to ask if we could submit a BRIC application for the update of the Meade County Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan. That was awarded, I believe, in January. So basically, just kind of a refresher of what this plan is, and kind of a little bit about the grant itself. So the natural hazard mitigation plan primarily looks at natural hazards that can impact the county, such as flooding, wildfire, etc. We analyze risk vulnerabilities from those risks, and then we create mitigation strategies for that. As Jennifer mentioned earlier, this is a 5-year plan. It is approved by FEMA and is required to be updated every 5 years. Part of the update is the incorporation of a second document called the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So this is a document through U.S. Forest Service. It does not have the requirements of the 5-year update like the FEMA plan. However, when that plan exceeds 10 years, you become ineligible for certain types of funding, which your current Community Wildfire Protection Plan has been over 10 years, and we've seen that with a lot of the counties out here. So in an effort to make sure that's updated regularly so that if someone does want to go for that funding, it's available, we discussed combining those two documents. They are both similar in nature. And making sure that the Community Wildfire Protection Plan is updated every 5 years with your mitigation plan. The app itself covers for both of these plans, again, they're two, but they're going to be one, 75% grant, and the remaining 25% is met with in kind. So as we work through the plan, meetings, anyone who comes and listens to my spiel, that is what covers that 25%. So ultimately, the plan would be covered 100%. It is reimbursable, so that 75% would be paid and then reimbursed after the plan is completed. Is there any questions on that part of it? The plan itself is set to expire November of 2026, so we have a little bit of time to get that working through. And then if any of the commissioners has an interest in serving on our main planning team, you can reach out to me. Just don't all reach out to me and give me a quorum because we might have an issue. But yeah, so we'll be working through that. I will be meeting with the cities and towns, so they will be part of the plan as well and adopt it, and that allows them to be eligible for different funding opportunities as well. Are there any questions on that?
Any questions from the commission?
And then the last part of that is just the contract between Black Hills Council to work on that update and the county. Nope, that's a different item.
There's a couple different items.
Yeah, so this would be the contract.
So the wildfire.
I don't think we have the contract on here.
Oh.
Although, yeah, we don't have the wildfire.
You can take that up at a future meeting.
I was going to say, that needs to be passed in by November, you said?
Next year. Yes.
The contract, when's the deadline on the contract?
Yeah.
Yes, I understand.
Next year,
so when would you, we can
put it on, yeah, we can put it on next meeting or.
It can be taken up at a later
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you had just sent it in to us, if we can handle it next meeting. And then the wildfire stuff needs to be handled by?
They're going to join them.
They're going to join, so the contract will be for both documents.
Okay.
So, yes, just because it gets a little confusing.
Yep.
They were originally two separate, and now they're going to be one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, because we do have a couple things on the agenda from you guys, which is the sanitary district stuff.
Yes,
So I'm just trying to keep everything separate.
No worries.
So, any other questions on that? So, yeah, if you could get us that stuff by our next meeting, we appreciate that.
Yes.
But I don't think you'll have to come back.
Okay.
Do you? The rest, I think
I don't think
just
so.
send it. You won't have to physically come.
No.
The contract just allows us to start work on the
Yeah.
plan.
Sure.
And we have time. We typically plan a year for the completion of those. But we do need the approval of the state and FEMA add time to time it takes to finalize.
Okay. Yeah, if you get that stuff to us for our next meeting, that's great. Any other questions on that? If not, if you guys have anything else, we can move down to the resolutions and letter that will take some action.
Sure. So the resolution authorizing an applicant agent is required to allow for the county to designate somebody to sign an application or at the county level. This application is, so the Northdale Sanitary District is looking to relocate their force main. Currently, it is threatened by natural hazards, and through this program, the county would have to be the applicant. It's a 75% grant, 25% local match, which the next item is the statement of local match stating someone will provide the local match. We've already received a letter from Northdale Sanitary District. They know that they would be responsible for any local match. Their local match, what we're proposing is that they submit an application to DANR, the State Revolving Fund Program, which is it's a loan program, but it can also provide grant as well. I would anticipate they wouldn't get any grant if they receive grant through this program. So the local match would come from their sewer revenues that they collect from Northdale Sanitary District beneficiaries. So, I don't know the full resolution, but it's really just appointing someone to be eligible to sign.
So it's going to be two parts. The way I read this is we're going to need to appoint someone or a couple people.
So the application is done in FEMA Go, and Rhea's already in there. It is, everything has to be submitted electronically. So
I'll just add, the state has requested that we have two people in that role.
Sure.
And the purpose is if this was something you were agreeable to, obviously, there are quarterly reports if this is a project that gets awarded, and only the applicant agent can sign those reports. So if that person's on vacation or is away, that gives us an opportunity to have someone else sign that.
Yep, but we're going with that. We need to do two things. We need to appoint as well as pass the resolution.
And as part of this, Jennifer's been working in the background on this for months to make sure that this dilemma that has been taking place down there could possibly be funded. And we need to be the sponsoring agent because Northdale does not qualify as a sponsoring agent.
Through the FEMA program.
Through the FEMA program. And it's a serious situation down there. And as you may recall, one day I was driving back from Rapid and I was sure that the sewer had blown. I don't know what it was I smelt, but someday it may become a reality. Honest to God, something did happen that day. I had a witness in the car, but hopefully this is one step to help the residents out down there at Hideaway Hills and Northdale.
Okay, is there any other questions, comments on this?
It seems like the chairman and vice chair would be the signing.
It'd be, I mean, we could appoint Rhea to something,
Yeah.
couldn't we? I mean,
We could, that's what I was going to ask. Who would, you could do any number of things. You could include planning chair, planning director, I guess.
You're going to want to use somebody who's in FEMA Go. And
Yeah, you could include
Yeah.
Rhea,
Rhea or
emergency manager.
Sean.
So
The rest of us haven't gotten into FEMA Go.
Yeah.
And I would just say, make sure that person is available between now and May 30th to submit the app, if you choose to do that.
yeah, you guys are going to be around this week? Okay, I'll make a motion to appoint Rhea and Sean to be those positions. They're in FEMA Go, which sounds like a app game. But
Yeah, let's hope we get it in before FEMA disappears.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as fun as it sounds.
Yeah, it isn't.
So we're,
Both
to be
FEMA
clear on the
Go-
motion, Commissioner Wyzorek, your motion is to appoint Rhea Crane, I assume is the county executive director, and Mr. Sean Henderson as the emergency manager.
Yep.
I need a second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second on the floor to appoint those two people. Would that motion be to pass this
And pass the resolution.
resolution as well?
Second.
We do need to change the dates on there. That's just a clerical, but
As soon as I update this and add the names, I will correct the date.
Okay, thank you. So the motion being to appoint Rhea Crane, the Meade County's Executive Director, and Sean Henderson, Meade County's Emergency Manager, to this resolution, and to pass Resolution 2025-15. There more discussion? Any more discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We also have a letter on here.
So the statement of local match, again, is part of the funding application, stating that someone will be responsible for the local match. In this case, it is worded that Northdale Sanitary District's sewer fund revenues will be the designated funding source for the local match, and that can be through the DNR SRF programs after they're awarded.
Any questions, comments on that, and or action?
There's been a substantial change in the management of that sanitary district, too, has there not?
Yes, actually, Cotty Hayes is the new president of the board over there. He wanted to be here today, but he's given quite a bit of his time to the application development, and he needed to be at work this morning. So he's been really great to work with, and gotten Kaylee everything she's asked for environmental and benefit cost analysis, which are two elements of the application that have to be completed to even determine eligibility. So he's the new president over there. They've also retained newer legal counsel within the last year who has been effective.
Any questions, comments, interaction to approve this letter?
Make a motion to approve the letter.
I'll second.
Motion is second on the floor to approve this letter. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you guys for coming in today.
I sure hope they get it.
Move down to Commission L1, which is a letter from Mr. Gary Drews. He's a commissioner with Pennington County. He's SDA-CC past president. Basically, the way I've read this letter, it's just informing us that there's some committees being set up to discuss these various items. And if any of us are interested in serving on those committees, to reach out. Really see any need for action unless we think someone needs to be appointed. But if you're interested, I'd say reach out to one of these chairs, or it looks like Holly Hennis at the association, or Gary Drews. Move down, and no questions, comments on that. Let's move down to Weston Heights. We discussed this at our last meeting. We took action to include this on our agenda. What to do? We have gotten a letter from Weston Heights and asking us, I believe Commissioner Severin got a call as well, or an email, something, asking if we could hold off on any decisions until their HOA board had time to meet. They're not going to meet for at least a few days anyway. And just putting that information out. Is there any other questions, comments on that?
Did they have a date that they'd like to have it pushed out to, Rhea?
They did infer that the June 10th meeting would be sufficient.
I think I'd like to continue this too.
Got a motion on the floor, or do you need a second to go on?
Second.
Motion and second on the floor to continue this to our June 10th meeting. Is there any discussion to that motion?
I'm going to abstain from the vote. Discussion on the action.
Any more discussion to that motion? Commissioner Wyzorek is abstaining. Hearing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Brings us down to item L3 on the agenda is 2021 Dodge Ram. This was up last time, and we moved it to this meeting. We looked for some options. Rhea, would you go forward with what some of our options are?
Sure. Rhea Crane, Meade County Auditor. So as requested, I did come up with the 4 options with the help of Ken Klaberad to help you make a decision in moving forward with what to do with the 2021 Dodge Ram. And the first thing is that you can appoint 3 real property appraisers to appraise the property again if you choose to. Within 12 months of May 13th, which is the meeting that you had the bid opening with no bids present, you can sell the property at a private sale for not less than 90% of the previously appraised value without further publication or appraisal. And I did put the actual opinions of value. I did attach the opinions of value. You can surplus the auction or surplus auction and sell the property, or you may remove it from county surplus and use it as you see fit.
When we say 90% of appraised value, Commissioner, I'm going to call you Commissioner. Do you want another job? Ken, is that of the average, or is that of the highest appraised value, or what?
The average.
The average.
Makes the most sense. Okay. If you do want to take the option to, option 3, to surplus and sell at auction, you still need to do the reappraisal, because that gets it back to start the system over again to go to the public auction.
Okay, so if we, either way, unless we offer it for sale and somebody offers to buy it at 90% or more than the appraised value, the average appraised value, we'd have to get it reappraised.
Okay. Correct, and that's, the appraisal by 3 property owners in the county.
Okay. If we offer it for sale for the 12 months, and we don't have any movement on that, can we surplus it, or, can we put it up for auction again, or how does that?
Again, we just do the reappraisal, which was real straightforward. I think we had 3 county employees who did the appraisal. It didn't cost us anything. It was timely. So if you opted to keep it for an opportunity for somebody to purchase, and then at the end of the 12 months you don't have any offers, we just start the process over again. Reappraisal and auction, or take it off surplus.
Mr. Yegum, when do we typically go to the Purple Wave with when is that auction? So, do we have anything scheduled for this spring? Okay. So we probably wouldn't go with anything until this fall. Okay. And we have 12 months from our last meeting, which was the bid opening.
Correct.
Which is May 13th, that we can sell it for 90% or more.
Correct.
Any other thoughts and or action? I guess that's my thoughts. We could just offer it for sale, possibly up until the time that we need to get something ready for auction. If it doesn't sell. Fall as in October, so I guess Mr. Yegum, just come forward.
Nathan Jagum, Meade County Highway Department. Yeah, we just try to coordinate with the sheriff when they get enough vehicles typically to sell. So we didn't have it this spring, and typically it seems like best time for buying is people either at the beginning of the year when they just get a new budget, or the end of the year when they're trying to spend their old budget for a lot of the government sales, it seems like. So that's just typically what we have done. We were kind of hesitant after the last sale that we had, because we didn't receive the price that we were looking for motor graders. So that's why we have kind of not really gone down that avenue, and we're willing to look at other options. So if we are looking, maybe there's a way. I did reach out to Purple Wave because they were asking us as well if there was a way to piggyback off of somebody else's sale. If there were a few items we wanted to get rid of instead of hosting our own sale, which is what we have typically done. And he said just let him know, and he will they can probably squeeze it in whenever. So if we have some specific items, like I know there's some snowmobiles that didn't get on the last auction that we got straightened out. If it's a smaller sale, we can probably just piggyback off of somebody else's. But for those government sales, I know they like to have some large ticket items to tag along with smaller items. That helps us get rid of some of our smaller items. So just a matter of coordinating with them, and if we want to host the sale ourselves, or if we just want to try to piggyback off of maybe another county or municipality that's having a sale.
Isn't Lawrence County advertising some things up there right now?
They might be. I'm not sure who they are going through.
I think it was them or Lead. I saw one of them actually had a pickup.
Yeah. Which actually, in that conversation with Purple Wave, they did say that there is an option for a minimum sale price for something, which I did not know at the beginning when we first sold those motor graders. I did not realize that was an option. So if that's something we want to look at, we'd have to just dive in a little bit more and find out what those are.
Maybe we ought to just start that now.
So
we've had in the past. We've had 2 years ago, if I recall, the motor graders sold fairly well. Yeah, and for their value, essentially. But last year we were disappointed in what they sold. Yeah. And that's somewhat my hesitant. I'm a little bit hesitant about throwing it on an auction as of now. I didn't realize the minimum price, though. So, okay, there's our options.
So we could, if you wanted, create an ad similar to what we did previously and take off the auction information, and we could just post the ad on social media and on our bulletin boards.
For sale.
I guess that's what I would recommend. We just try to sell it for, just based off our past experience with Purple Wave. We're a little just, not in Purple Wave, excuse me, but we're just familiar with some of the sale items at that auction. It sounds like we have a few months before we need to get anything ready. Possibly, Commissioner Creed, you had a good idea. Maybe there's some surrounding counties and it could be a little more attractive.
And you know, the only other thing I'd suggest with this pickup is, I think there's a place here in town that does a cleanup, and we get it polished up and stuff, because I think that would make a difference on the photo and stuff too. And I don't know about the inside, but it hasn't been used in a long time. And isn't there somebody out here? I think it costs like $100.
There is somebody, and the name escapes me at the moment, but there is an auto detailing company, or maybe two, here in town.
And maybe Chris York does that too. You know, if we were taking in our own cars to sell, we'd spruce them up.
So let's, I guess we're going to need some action on this. We better set a price. I guess obviously 90% is the minimum we can sell it for.
Correct.
So we could set it anywhere above that. I would say we probably better set the parameters, since we're a government entity. Probably, I would assume first person that makes the offer.
Correct.
As well as if this is our option that we're going to do, if we want to direct Ms. Crane in getting an ad put together.
So as I do the math, the minimum would be $35,280 at 90%.
Well, that's based on that old.
That's at 90%. Okay, full value. What's full value though?
The average was $39,200.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Questions? Want to take action at this?
I'll make a motion to offer the Dodge up for sale for the next 12 months for no less than the 90% appraised value, and that
be determined.
The The stated value was $39,200. We can only not accept anything less than that, or less than the 90% of that. And if at some point we decide to auction it, we will.
Second.
A motion a second on the floor to sell this pickup for 90% of 39,200.
No less than.
No less than. Any discussion on that motion?
Can I just talk myself into a conundrum? Do we need to have it appraised again, or can we use the 3 originals?
We do not, for private direct sale for 12 months, we do not need a reappraisal. And I would suggest that the motion be for a specific dollar amount.
That's what yeah.
You don't really have anybody that can negotiate.
That's what I'm saying.
First come, first serve on a
this is what
sale.
we're going to sell it for.
Yeah.
What's 90% of that again, Ram?
35,280.
So,
I'll include in my motion for 35,280. Offer more.
well, yeah, well, what we can offer, but we could, and I guess we could offer it for sale at 39,200 because that is the value of it. So, we can't take less.
Then somebody's got to negotiate it.
That okay, but yeah, right.
Well,
That's the 90%.
Yeah. So you're just saying we need to, as Ken just said, which is fine. We are just yeah.
The option is, I mean, you could authorize someone to negotiate the sales price between the 90% and the max.
And if anyone's listening now, they're going to know what our
Right.
negotiating price is. So therefore, I think we just set a value, which is I would lean toward just setting the full value. But if that's the motion, I'll accept that as well. I mean, I'm supporting that.
why can we not say something in the ad that the minimum price that would be accepted would be submit your offers by, and so it doesn't drag on?
That would open a reappraisal, wouldn't it?
That would be redoing the bid.
This is just
This
offering
is
for something
first come,
for
first
sale.
serve. I mean, that's what a private sale is.
I guess I would just offer. And there's no haggling, no appointing anybody.
That's
It's just the 35,280's there.
Yep.
If
Well,
they
then
offer it.
don't clean it.
So we're going to offer motion and second on the floor to offer this pickup for $35,280. I guess we don't need to set a timeline or anything.
Would you like to clarify where they should turn their numbers into?
And what happens if 2 people turn it in at the same
Well, if
time?
there's-
Are we going to time stamp these things?
If there's, I would say it's a first come first served basis. That's what we probably need to add to this. Is it's first come first served basis needs to be added to the motion. So if there's 2 people standing in line, whoever's lucky enough to be ahead in line. I don't know how else to do it.
Yeah, whoever walks in.
So my motion is to offer the pickup up for sale for $35,280. First come, first serve with delivery of payment to the owner.
Can't you say minimum bid, minimum price of?
It's not a minimum; it's the price.
That's the price. We can say a minimum. I mean, if somebody wants to offer more, but it's a first come, first serve. So.
Well, it is a minimum, but it's the price. It's the
Sure. Offer up the 2021 Dodge Ram for $35,280. First come, first serve, and that is to the auditor's office.
any more. That's fine with you, Commissioner Severin. Thank you. Second that. Nope. Doreen did. Sorry. That sound good to you, Doreen?
Yeah.
Any other discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item L4 is we had a request from Grand Electric that we would declare proclamation declaring June 6th as Grand Electric Cooperative Day. This is the first, to my knowledge, of any of these we've ever gotten.
I thought it was kind of nice for them to want it.
Any other questions, comments, and or action on that? This will require action if we want to do that. There's no one's going to take action on this. We're just going to move along. And
Did you want action, Dream?
Oh, I think we should.
well, then, if
Make a
you'd like-
motion.
Make a motion.
I proclaim, Meade County proclaims June 6th, Friday, 2025 as Grand Electric Cooperative Day, and we put together a letter touting their services and
If you would,
importance to
Would
the
it-
county.
would it be okay to pass this resolution that they presented?
Well, that's what I was trying to
Okay,
say.
the reason I asked is you said to put together a letter.
Well, I know,
Okay.
but
Okay.
based on their...
Okay, so if we pass this resolution,
Yeah.
it would be fine. Okay, that's why I asked. I didn't know if you wanted something else.
No.
This is a proclamation, not a resolution. Just to be clear.
Fine.
Okay,
I'll second the proclamation.
motion and a second and on the floor to pass this proclamation that Grand Electric has presented. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sure. Thank you. Moves down to consent calendar. Anything on the consent calendar? Not want to take action to pass the consent.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I have a question, if I may. And I want to direct it to JJ. You know, we all got a letter this morning from Sheriff West. I realize that's not on our agenda, but I wonder if it wouldn't be apropos to at least discuss this for the first time in public.
Commissioners, Chief Deputy James Johns.
I'd like to ask Ken a question as to whether that's an open meeting issue, since it wasn't on the agenda. And it's being brought up by a commissioner as opposed from the public.
I'm sorry? The question was?
Well, it's not on the agenda, and it's being brought up by a commissioner as opposed from somebody from the public bringing it up.
Can't take action, can certainly discuss.
As long as you're on the record for it, because I've seen some complaints filed with open meetings where these actions.
Even what I've seen on open meetings is taking action. Discussion is fine on any topic. Not to point fingers at Doreen, but we frequently discuss things that aren't directly on the agenda.
Yeah, I just know there's a recent decision in the city of Martin where they went up and the board said that it was fine because it was brought up by the audience, and there was an item, a general item, that it was brought up under.
I don't have a problem discussing that this was received. Discussing action on it probably is. I read the letter.
I'm not proposing any action. I just wondered if anybody wanted to discuss it or if it was, because frankly, I can't figure out when, with the open meetings law, I'm not sure that fits in exec session either.
Yeah, but the open meetings, the complaints can be that you've taken up something that's not on the agenda or wasn't properly noticed. That opens meetings also addresses those items.
And the best way to have handled this was before approving the agenda. Once you approve the agenda, you're frozen in. But you can add items the morning of.
But you have to add.
Prior to approving the agenda, yeah.
Or bring it up within public comment.
And I don't think this is an item that needs emergency, that you need to push the boundaries on.
Is this,
Having read it, I think everybody's read it. So.
A letter in reference, it's a letter from Black Hills Energy. Is this Deputy Johns, I guess, are they wanting any of this information to go public?
I think they've had enough public meetings on this that the information is out there. I understand they had a public meeting down in Hot Springs that was somewhat hijacked, and they had a full auditorium of people that were there discussing this. So I think the information is out there. I just don't know if they're ready for their sales pitch on how it's going to happen.
Okay. So before we proceed, Ken, you're comfortable with us discussing this at this time?
Yeah, I mean, as I understand what Ms. Creed has is we received this.
Okay.
And Pat forwarded
because, and the reason I asked my previous question is I was at a meeting, and they asked that none of that information go public at that point in time. That was last week. So I guess now you better shed some light on some of this then.
Well,
I'm sorry, you were at a meeting where they asked that it not be made public?
Yes.
I would honor that.
Well, that's why I asked the question. But he's saying he's had more information. That's why I asked Deputy Johnson. He's saying that.
Yeah, that meeting in Hot Springs that they attended was prior to our meeting that we had here in Sturgis. So it's out there. It's being discussed, but I don't know that they're ready to make their big public announcement on it.
And it's based on wildfire. Basically, it's, go ahead and explain what this is.
I want to do an open meeting question first, if I may. You know, in the past, in past commission meetings, all of us, when I say all of us, I mean the commissioners, oftentimes have outside meetings outside of the commission. And we used to go around to each commissioner right after public comments and say, you know, Commissioner Wyzorek, do you have anything to report on? And it was a way to get some topics out to the public and to the other commissioners in a informal forum, in an informational type setting. We don't have that anymore. And so when something comes up, and it comes up afterwards, I mean, I would not have brought this up if we did not have access to a letter from Pennington County officials that I assume is an open letter.
So, Lorraine, to me, the time to bring up something from the sheriff's office is when the sheriff's office is on the agenda. And I don't think there would be an issue if you wanted to say, sheriff's office making a report and say, hey, we also received, or there's some information I received about X, Y, and Z. I don't think that's a real issue. The difficulty you have when you wait to bring it up after all the agenda items are taken care of is that's where I start getting concerned about your open meeting issues.
And I see to Doreen's point, there are other counties that have what you just said on there. I think Pennington County is one that says updates from commission at this time of the meeting typically. And that's something that certainly can be added. We'll just, Rhea, let's remember we can add that next time. So Commissioner Creed and I have been attending some of these meetings with Black Hills Energy as well as Sheriff West and Deputy Johns. And that was the reason I asked was so I can see your point if there's something that we want to update them. So if this is something that is okay to talk about, I would basically give us a brief overview because like I said, I am a little, although that some of this information has got out, that the last I was told they were hoping to not go public with some of the information. but a brief overview I think everyone knows about and what was discussed, not in detail or however, wherever you feel comfortable, Deputy Jones.
Okay. First of all, I know that in my conversations with the folks at Black Hills Energy, I'm sure if you wanted them here on June 10th, one of their representatives would probably be more than kind to come in and sit down and
I've had a
discuss.
conversation with them, and I told them I would be happy to add them to the agenda whenever they're comfortable coming.
Yep. So right now, it's still in these discussions. We've been having these meetings. The idea is for a planned public safety shutoff of electric to certain areas if certain weather conditions are met. They haven't shared what those weather conditions are or anything like that, and we've been working with other emergency managers. Sean has been on the forefront as well. I don't want to leave him out of this. He's been doing excellent work in trying to identify critical infrastructure and planning for what this would look like for Meade County.
Any other questions? If not, let's move on.
Make for the record is what Ms. Creed's referring to is information that was sent by the sheriff's office to all commissioners. It wasn't at any kind of meeting that we were at that was not agended or in any other setting.
Oh, correct.
Thank you. Let's move on. Executive session.
Make a motion to go in executive session for contractual issues and issues dealing with employee negotiations.
I want legal as well. I have a question for...
amend mine to include legal. And with Ken,
yes. Okay. A motion and a second on the floor to go into executive session for legal, contractual, and personnel. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.